I mean, if you've got very limited post budget and you're deciding where you want to kind of allocate those funds, first of all, I mean, not taking anything away from composers, there's a lot of really affordable, like almost free composers out there. Just for whatever reason, there's a lot of kids or a lot of people who've gotten into that, and they're out there and they're available, and you can find them, and you can maybe pay nothing or pay very little, $1,000 or something like that. Composers are easy to find, so you should get a composer. And there are going to be people wanting to work on your, they want to get a feature credit or whatever. The other thing is, if you're deciding between, I've got this limited amount of money and I can spend it on color correction or I can spend it on sound, in my book, I would kind of be putting more, I think sound is a better place to put your money as far as like color correction. I mean, and people say, you can change your color correction, change everything, like, whatever. Sound can really, really make a big difference, and it's an affordable place to do it. And actually, if you want to do it yourself and you have a year, you can do a lot of it yourself. I mean, again, it's going to take you a lot longer than a pro and all this stuff, but it's a place that, can be really, really inexpensive place to put something to make a big difference at the end of the day. It's a big dollar difference,
Yeah, and very quickly.
I would just think you could say
Color
But I actually agree with that. There's a tendency to sometimes not allocate those resources until you're already in the situation where you're forced to make that decision. But as far as color correction is concerned, if you start those, like I said, if you start those conversations early on, and you start budgeting that early on, you have a good sense of how much time you've allocated for it. You can do that in a way that you really can't do with audio. Having said that, when you go in to work with a colorist, my number one piece of advice would be to know what you want. At least have a good idea of the look you're going for, because you can spend a lot of time messing around with footage in the color correction bay, and it's very expensive to do that. So having a sense of reference for what you want, having a sense of the kind of tones you're looking for, and not getting married necessarily to just the way your dailies looked or how it looked in editorial, or saying, you know what, I saw this movie one time and I just wanted to look like that. Because you didn't shoot that movie. That movie's already been shot. You shot your movie. So thinking about those things before you get to the bay and before you're sitting in there with the colorist would really save you time.
Yeah, again, time is money. Back to NAMI really fast. I just wanted to ask you quickly, like there's all these music download services that are royalty free. What are the pluses and minuses of those?
Okay, so a big plus is that it's very easy, it's very cheap. It's already produced, it's made, you can cut directly to the music, and you don't have to replace it later. A minus side is that sometimes it's not exclusive, so most of the time it's not exclusive, so you have to pay a lot of money to get it exclusive. And you don't want your music to be playing in a commercial or in another film.
Which invariably it will.
Yeah, it will. And a lot of times, even if you do get exclusivity, a lot of times it'll be limited for a certain amount of years. And then you can still see that music somewhere else.
And also you can't customize it.
Yeah, and you also have to edit, you'll edit the shit out of the music to fit the scene exactly the way that you want it. And instead, I advocate, just use a composer who will do that and also will create your own sound, your own world, the tone of your film. It will be better value for your money, that's for sure.
Okay, that's it. We're jumping around. Got to move fast. Let me just get this last thing, because then we got to do questions. The question I wanted to ask you guys, and Andy, what about visual effects for low-budget filmmakers? Is that a possibility? How does that work for us guys?
It absolutely is a possibility, but key, like everything else we've been saying, in order to make that a possibility for you, we need to be involved before you shoot, so we can tell you how bright the green screen needs to be lit, as an example. I get so often people overlight the green screen. It actually needs to be 1.5 stops under key, as an example. Or what do you actually want this shot to be? You might have a vision for it one way that's going to cost $20,000. I might be able to talk to you about an alternate way to get the same storytelling effect for $5,000. And it's all in the initial planning. If you want to have visual effects in your film, it's critical that you have a consultation with the visual effects supervisor ahead of time. I give free consultations on this stuff all the time to independent filmmakers. I'll sit down with you for an hour, talk about what your goals are, and I'll tell you these are the ways you can go to achieve the storytelling effect that you're looking for. If you want something like, you know, Transformers, where you have these ridiculously huge things that are running around all over the film, let's just put that, you know, out of your mind.